Hello and welcome to Quiz Class. I'm your host, Ellen, and today we have 100 questions on general knowledge. Let's take a look at our Quiz Class awards. Let us know how you rank in the comments at the end, along with the answer to the bonus question. So make sure you have a pen and paper ready to keep score. Which US president had a secret penthouse-style bowling alley installed in the White House? John F. Kennedy, Harry Truman, or Lyndon B. Johnson? Harry Truman. The Great Molasses Flood of 1919 caused how many fatalities when a massive tank burst in Boston? 21, 35, or 27? 21. Which Renaissance artist painted multiple versions of the same subject, the famous enigmatic smile? Michelangelo, Raphael, or Leonardo da Vinci? Leonardo da Vinci. Which country contains more pyramids than Egypt, many of which remain largely unexplored? Peru, Mexico, or Sudan? Sudan. Which Beatles song was inspired by a hallucination experienced by one member during a drug trip? A Day in the Life, Strawberry Fields Forever, or Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds? Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Which 1956 television performance was so controversial that the actor was filmed only from the waist up? James Dean, Elvis Presley, or Marlon Brando? Elvis Presley on The Ed Sullivan Show. Which composer's work was intended as a practice exercise but became a world-famous piano piece? Beethoven, Mozart, or Chopin? Beethoven. The Sahara Desert spans over 11 countries. Which of these is not included? Morocco, Nigeria, or Egypt? Nigeria. Which U.S. city's airport has held the title of world's busiest by passenger traffic for decades, despite massive global competition? Dubai, Heathrow, or Atlanta? Atlanta. Which luxury car brand first introduced standard seatbelts, dramatically improving automotive safety? Chevrolet, Volvo, or Ford? Volvo. Which ancient wonder was considered visible from 100 miles away at sea, defying modern engineering understanding? Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Statue of Zeus, or the Lighthouse of Alexandria? The Lighthouse of Alexandria. Which artist famously cut off part of his own ear during a mental health crisis? Claude Monet, Pablo Picasso, or Vincent van Gogh? Vincent van Gogh. Which famous rock anthem originally started as a lullaby? Smoke on the Water, Stairway to Heaven, or Let It Be? Let It Be. In literature, who wrote under a pen name that masked her gender in order to be taken seriously? Mary Ann Evans, Agatha Christie, or Charlotte Bronte? Mary Ann Evans. Which car model is regarded as the first true muscle car, sparking an American automotive revolution? Dodge Charger, Ford Mustang, or Pontiac GTO? Pontiac GTO. Which television show was the first to depict a married couple sharing a bed? I Love Lucy, The Mary Kay and Johnny Show, or Leave It to Beaver? The Mary Kay and Johnny Show. Which world leader was the first millennial to hold the office of president in their country? Chile, Finland, or New Zealand? Chile. What unusual record does Sudan hold regarding ancient monuments? Largest sphinx, oldest pyramid, or most pyramids in the world? Most pyramids in the world. The Volkswagen Beetle achieved which surprising milestone in automotive history? First car to sell over 20 million units worldwide, first car sold in China, or the first electric hybrid? First car to sell over 20 million units worldwide. Which soda, originally marketed as a medicinal beverage in the 1890s, became a global icon? Pepsi, Coca-Cola, or Dr. Pepper? Coca-Cola. We are on question 21. Let's move forward. Which Motown singer was known as the Prince of Soul? Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, or Smokey Robinson? Marvin Gaye. Which European city is considered the city of canals and has more bridges than Venice? Bruges, Stockholm, or Amsterdam? Amsterdam. The Volkswagen Beetle, a car originally designed in the 1930s, achieved global popularity for what unusual reason? Reliable design and mass appeal, cheap manufacturing, or electric capability? Reliable design and mass appeal. Which U.S. president installed a secret bomb shelter in the White House, complete with a gym and pool? John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, or Lyndon B. Johnson? Richard Nixon. The Leaning Tower of Pisa was originally designed to be vertical. How long before the tilt became noticeable? 20 years, 100 years, or 5 years? 5 years. Which musical instrument associated with India appeared in the Rolling Stones' Paint It Black? Tabla, sitar, or guitar? The sitar. The largest movie set ever built for a single film was for which 1960s epic? Cleopatra, Lawrence of Arabia, or Top Gun? Cleopatra. Which U.S. city once had a gravity hill where cars appear to roll uphill? Los Angeles, Monroe, Louisiana, or Seattle? Monroe, Louisiana. Which book's manuscript was almost destroyed by its author before becoming a literary sensation? The Catcher in the Rye, Pride and Prejudice, or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone? Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Which animal was the first to travel into space and return safely? Albert the monkey, Ham the chimpanzee, or Laika the dog? Laika the dog. The Eiffel Tower can grow taller by up to 6 inches during hot weather due to what? Expanding metal from heat, thermal expansion of iron, or shifting foundation? Thermal expansion of iron. Which rock band's logo was inspired by the Hindu goddess Kali and used for over 50 years? The Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, or Led Zeppelin? The Rolling Stones. Which ancient civilization built underground cities housing tens of thousands with ventilation systems? The Romans, Cappadocian, or the Mayans? Cappadocian. The first recorded driverless car experiment in the 1920s used what technology? Radio-controlled steering, hydraulic automation, or GPS? Radio-controlled steering. Which Renaissance artist created a sculpture so realistic people thought it would bleed if stabbed? Giovanni Bologna, Donatello, or Michelangelo? Giovanni Bologna. The world's largest pyramid by volume is not in Egypt, but in Peru, China, or Mexico? Mexico. Next up, question 37. Which U.S. president's dog reportedly learned to use the toilet? Theodore Roosevelt, Lyndon B. Johnson, or FDR? Lyndon B. Johnson. Which landmark in New York City was once the tallest building and has a secret observation deck? The Empire State Building, One World Trade Center, or the Chrysler Building? The Empire State Building. Which car manufacturer once produced airplanes, tanks, and trains before focusing on cars? Chevrolet, Ford, or Mercedes-Benz? Mercedes-Benz. On to the next. The first animated film nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars was The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, or The Lion King? Beauty and the Beast. Which U.S. state features a national park home to the world's largest living organism? California, Oregon, or Colorado? Oregon. Which famous scientist played the violin throughout his life, crediting music with enhancing creativity? Nikola Tesla, Isaac Newton, or Albert Einstein? Albert Einstein. Which musical group holds the Guinness World Record for most consecutive #1 hits? Westlife, ABBA, or the Beatles? Westlife. Let's keep going. Which natural wonder contains a cave so deep it has its own weather system? Mammoth Cave, Carlsbad Caverns, or Son Duong Cave? Son Duong Cave. Which author famously destroyed much of her own work but left one novel that became a classic? Jane Austen, J.K. Rowling, or Virginia Woolf? J.K. Rowling. Which country is home to a floating post office on a lake? Greece, India, or Thailand? India. Which US president had a secret train car equipped as a mobile White House? Harry Truman, Franklin Roosevelt, or Dwight Eisenhower? Harry Truman. The oldest continuously operating library in the United States is located in which city? Philadelphia, New York, or Boston? Philadelphia. Which European city has a clock tower where the figures of death and vanity strike the hours? London, Prague, or the Netherlands? Prague. Which composer wrote a symphony while completely deaf? Beethoven, Bach, or Mozart? Beethoven. Question 51. Which car was the first to offer a turbocharged engine to the public? Ford Mustang, Chevrolet Corvair, or Porsche 911? Chevrolet Corvair. Which US city is famous for having an underground shadow tunnel network originally used for bootlegging? Boston, Chicago, or New York City? New York City. Which Shakespeare play includes a character who speaks entirely in anagrams? Hamlet, Love's Labour's Lost, or Twelfth Night? Love's Labour's Lost. Which world leader secretly recorded conversations in their office for historical records? Richard Nixon, Winston Churchill, or Margaret Thatcher? Richard Nixon. Which iconic car brand once produced a model called the Airflow that failed due to its futuristic design? Ford, Chevrolet, or Chrysler? Chrysler. Which city features a pyramid-shaped tomb for an American president? Washington, D.C., St. Louis, or Philadelphia? St. Louis. Which 19th century invention allowed newspapers to print images for the first time? Halftone process, Gutenberg press, or linotype? Halftone process. The world's longest running musical theater show is Les Miserables, Cats, or The Phantom of the Opera? The Phantom of the Opera. Which U.S. state is home to the only natural diamond mine in the country? Arkansas, Colorado, or Texas? Arkansas. We are at question 60. Which car manufacturer created a model with gull-wing doors in the 1950s? Ferrari, Mercedes-Benz, or Lamborghini? Mercedes-Benz. Which 20th century author reportedly typed some of their books on a typewriter while standing? F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, or Vladimir Nabokov? Vladimir Nabokov. Which building has a suicide-proof window system to prevent falls? The Empire State Building, Taipei 101, or One World Trade Center? Taipei 101. Which desert hosts an annual music festival in the United States? Black Rock Desert, the Mojave Desert, or Sonoran Desert? Black Rock Desert. Which U.S. president flew in a helicopter for the first time while in office? Lyndon Johnson, John F. Kennedy, or Dwight D. Eisenhower? Dwight D. Eisenhower. Which novel's first edition was bound in human skin? Frankenstein, a copy of De Destiny de l'Homme, or Dracula? De Destiny de l'Homme. Which car is famous for having a rear engine layout and rear wheel drive, iconic in racing history? Lamborghini Countach, Ferrari, or Porsche 911? Porsche 911. Which painter is known for his blue period depicting sorrowful monochromatic works? Pablo Picasso, Henri Matisse, or Claude Monet? Pablo Picasso. Next up, which world leader famously walked barefoot on ice to demonstrate resilience? Joseph Stalin, Mahatma Gandhi, or Vladimir Lenin? Mahatma Gandhi. Which literary work contains the phrase, "Big Brother is watching you"? 1984 by George Orwell, Brave New World, or Fahrenheit 451? (1984) by George Orwell. Which historical figure had a private zoo and was obsessed with exotic animals in the 16th century? Catherine de' Medici, Henry VIII, or Leonardo da Vinci? Leonardo da Vinci. Which musician holds the record for the most consecutive Grammy wins in one category? Michael Jackson, Taylor Swift, or Beyonce? Michael Jackson. Which city is known for a historic floating market where vendors sell goods from boats? Hong Kong, Bangkok, or Venice? Bangkok. Which poet wrote, "Do not go gentle into that good night"? Dylan Thomas, T.S. Eliot, or W.H. Auden? Dylan Thomas. Which city has an opera house that appears to float on water? Milan, Venice, or Sydney? Sydney. Which rare natural phenomenon occurs when lightning strikes sand and fuses it into glass tubes? Fulgurite, St. Elmo's fire, or aurora borealis? Fulgurite. Which U.S. city has an abandoned subway station decorated with mosaics and art hidden from public view for decades? Chicago, New York City, or Boston? Boston. Which 20th century physicist was offered the presidency of Israel but declined? Marie Curie, Albert Einstein, or Niels Bohr? Albert Einstein. Which car model is nicknamed the Widowmaker due to its challenging handling at high speeds? Porsche 911 Carrera, Lamborghini Countach, or Ferrari Testarossa? The Porsche 911 Carrera 3.2. Which famous historical library was saved from destruction by hiding its books in underground tunnels during wartime? Bodleian Library, the Library of Congress, or the National Library of Serbia? The National Library of Serbia. Which planet has a moon so reflective it can be seen with the naked eye from Earth? Mars, Jupiter, or Saturn? Jupiter. Which U.S. city's cemetery has a voodoo section where visitors leave offerings to protect their loved ones? New Orleans, Charleston, or Savannah? New Orleans. Which 20th century composer created music using actual sounds from traffic, factories, and typewriters? John Cage, George Antheil, or Philip Glass? George Antheil. Which city holds a secret ghost subway that was used for military operations during World War II? London, the United States, or Germany? London. Which U.S. landmark was originally intended to be a temporary structure for a world exposition? The Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, or the Eiffel Tower? The Eiffel Tower. Which car is famous for having a W12 engine and holding the top speed record for a production vehicle in the early 2000s? Bentley Continental, McLaren, or the Bugatti? Bentley Continental. Which movie used a real iceberg for filming instead of a CGI creation? Life of Pi, The Titanic, or The Thing? The Thing. Which ancient Greek city-state held Olympic-style competitions for women separate from men's events? Corinth, Athens, or Sparta? Sparta. Which literary work contains a fictional language so fully developed that fans can speak it fluently? Game of Thrones, The Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter? The Lord of the Rings. Which U.S. city has a secret rooftop garden atop its historic subway stations? Boston, New York City, or Chicago? Chicago. Ready for question 90. Which country has a museum dedicated entirely to failed inventions? Germany, the United States, or Switzerland? Switzerland. Which city has a bridge of size that was actually used for prisoners to cross to court? Paris, Venice, or Prague? Venice. Which car brand built the model using a hybrid wood-metal frame in the 1930s? Ford, Packard, or Bugatti Type 57 Galibier? The Bugatti Type 57. What is the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea? Cyprus, Sicily, or Crete? Sicily. Which car was designed with a cockpit-style interior resembling a fighter jet? McLaren F1, Ferrari, or Jaguar XJ220? The Ferrari XJ220. Which famous library in the ancient world was said to have housed over 400,000 scrolls before being destroyed? The Library of Alexandria, of Nineveh, or the Pergamon Library? The Library of Alexandria. Who was the first African American to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court? Colin Powell, Clarence Thomas, or Thurgood Marshall? Thurgood Marshall. What natural wonder in Venezuela has the world's tallest uninterrupted waterfall? Victoria Falls, Niagara Falls, or Angel Falls? Angel Falls. Which legendary car was featured as James Bond's vehicle in Goldfinger? Jaguar E-Type, Porsche 911, or Aston Martin DB5? Aston Martin DB5. Which Renaissance artist dissected more than 30 human corpses to improve his anatomical drawings? Raphael, Michelangelo, or Leonardo da Vinci? Leonardo da Vinci. Question 100. Which rock musician had a spider species named after him due to his theatrical stage presence? Alice Cooper, David Bowie, or Ozzy Osbourne? David Bowie. And our bonus question. Which 20th century US novel was originally published under the title Trimalchio in West Egg before revision? Let us know the answer in the comments and, of course, how well you did with our Quiz Class Einstein rewards. Thanks for playing, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.